What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel where today we're going to continue our 2020 early draft prep around the midway point of the college football season. We've done quarterbacks, we've looked at running backs. Now it is time to look at the pass catchers. And if you need a wide receiver, if you're a fan of a team that maybe even needs two wide receivers, I think this is a very, very nice looking draft class for the running backs and now the wide receivers. I got top 10 here. There's a bunch of honorable mentions. Once we get towards the end of the college season, there are a couple redshirt sophomores, 3 in particular, that have kind of been talked about on some draft sites, but it's really too hard to gamble right now and put those guys on your list because you never know if the super underclassmen are going to declare. But I mean, man, it was really tough to get this list down to 10, and we'll work our way from 10 all the way up to 1, highlighting my top wide receivers for the upcoming draft through halfway of the college season. But before we get in the top 10, I have some honorable mentions. So we have the 3 redshirt sophomores. Sage Surratt from Wake Forest, big. I think he can be an inside outside wide receiver at the next level. Charleston Rambo from Oklahoma and KJ Hamler from Penn State. I mean, I don't know what the likelihood of all those guys. I think Rambo probably returns back to Oklahoma because with CeeDee Lamb going, he's going to be able to be that true wide receiver 1 in a Lincoln Riley system. He probably will help improve his stock. I think if he comes out right now, second, third round pick. If he stays for one more year, might be a first rounder. KJ Hamler could go from Penn State because they have a lot less stability on the offensive side of the ball. It might be beneficial for him to go, especially because how explosive an athlete he is. And honorable mentions that just didn't make the top 10. TJ Vasher from Texas Tech, big outside wide receiver with wow catchability. Anthony Gandy Golden from Liberty, big time possession power wide receiver. And Aaron Fuller from Washington, a guy that's just not really a great athlete, not terrific in size, like he's sub 6 feet tall, but ridiculous. Man, this guy made a bunch of crazy plays, has really, really good hops, insane one-handed catchability. Had to put him in the honorable mentions, even though I think he's been a little bit banged up this year for the Huskies. So they're getting into my top 10. Starting at number 10, we have Jalen REAGOR, 5'11", 185 pounds out of TCU. He makes this list alone because of how good of an athlete he's going to be. He is going to dominate the combine, I think, in a lot of categories, from jumping to the long jump to the 40-yard dash. Like, he's going to probably bring, at worst, low 4.3 speed. And like in today's NFL, everyone wants a speed freak. I'm looking at you, the Philadelphia Eagles. Guy like Jalen REAGOR, and he has solid hands for a speedster. Right now, the worst thing when you talk about wide receivers, college prospects, everyone wants to compare the fast guys to Tyreek Hill. Have you ever seen Tyreek Hill? Like, Tyreek Hill, I don't know what his official weight is. Probably, what, a $190? But Tyreek Hill is jacked. Tyreek Hill is, like, shredded in muscle. And these fast guys from college, more often than not, like, we're even going to talk about Henry Ruggs a little bit later from Alabama. Like, they're not built like Tyreek. These guys here are like the kind of, that may be the only rare concern for them is that, hey, bulk up a little bit, man. Once you start going up against some of these big corners, big safeties at the next level that you're not going to be able to outrun every single time, we're going to need see some durability. And we have seen Tyreek Hill from time and time again struggle to stay healthy, struggle to stay on the field because of his slight frame. So when it comes to Jalen REAGOR, I don't really see that with Tyreek Hill, that comparison, even though there may be a couple people that will talk about that, but it still is an exceptional athlete. There are some one-trick pony concerns. Not really asked to run a whole lot at TCU. Usually that's what you see with the players that are just, generally speaking, put them on the outside, and they'll run faster than everybody else. You're not going to have them run a bunch of different ins and outs and run them across the field, really in a way that's going to be more pro-style. You more so just say, run straight. Just run straight. That's all we need. We're going to give you screens and little dump-offs and stuff like that. So that could be a question for Jalen REAGOR, but I think off his elite athleticism alone should go, probably second round, third round, somewhere in that territory. Go to wide receiver number 9. I have DENZEL MIMS. We have been pumping him up on the channel, I think, for what feels like forever now, at least the last 2 years. 6'3", 200 pounds out of Baylor. Track star. He's a great athlete. I think a misconception against old Baylor wide receivers when you come from that Browse thing was, we'll call it a thing because, there's a lot of controversy to when Art Browse was there at Baylor. But they, had limited route trees because they were a gimmicky air raid type offense. It's not so much the case now under Matt Rule. And I think DENZEL MIMS has a pretty damn good route tree. I think he's a complete wide receiver. He can be a deep threat. He can be a red zone threat. I have bet on Baylor 6 out of their 7 wins this year. So I've watched a lot of Baylor football. And he constantly wins on the outside. He can beat you down deep. He has great speed, track speed at 6'3", 200 pounds. He's very, very strong and great in the red zone. The only negative is he would be higher if I wasn't a coward. If I didn't want to just feel like a football hipster and put a guy that not a lot of people are talking about. Like, really? He's in my top 5. I probably would have him at number 5. I think he is truly going to be the steal at the wide receiver position in the draft. There's nothing that he's bad at, and he might not even be a steal when all is said and done, because he's going to put up great numbers this year for Baylor statistically when all is said and done. Baylor's getting a little bit more respect in the Big 12, and I think at the Combine, people are going to go, oh my God. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see him run the 4.4s. So keep an eye on Denzel Mims, man. You heard it here first. You heard it here like 2 years ago. He's good. Go to wide receiver number 8. We have Justin Jefferson, 6'2", 190 pounds, out of LSU. I thought when I was getting ready to do this list, he'd be higher. It's just, man, it goes more so to the strength of the wide receivers in this year's draft class. When you look at Justin Jefferson, great hands. He's versatile at route running, can run short, can run slants, could run intermediate routes, can go deep when he has to. He's hungry and the ball is in the air. Very, very aggressive. Always wants it on every single jump ball. He's looked real, real good for Joe Burrow, to help Joe Burrow's stock. I think him, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall, those 3 guys are all very, very talented. Day 2 at the worst type wide receivers. And we already talked about how, our take on Joe Burrow, who do we have? We had Joe Burrow as our 4th quarterback in our QB rankings, which may be a little bit of a hot take, because right now so many people want to pigeonhole him as the number 1 quarterback. I still just find it too hard right now at the halfway point of the college football season, put Joe Burrow ahead of Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa. But we did give a lot of credit when we were talking about Joe Burrow to his wide receivers, and Justin Jefferson is a big reason. Now, really, the only negative I can come against Justin Jefferson is there's athletic concerns, more so a question about how athletic is he really. I think a combine would go a long way to either solidifying him as maybe a guy that can, definitely be a 2nd-round pick, or more so a guy that's a 3rd, 4th round in that territory. But either way, a very intriguing prospect. Go to wide receiver number 7. We have DEVONTA Smith, 6'1", 175 pounds from Alabama. He's a great route runner. Right now, he's actually having the best productive season for the 4 great Alabama wide receivers, but there's only 3 that can go this year. Jalen Waddle is going to go next year. Underrated yard. Once he gets the catch, man, he's underrated to make guys miss. He's not an exceptional athlete, which is what I have as his negative. Not an A-plus athlete. Usually when you see a wide receiver that's 175 pounds, you're like, this guy is like a feather, light like a feather. He's going to be 4.3 speed, somewhere in that territory. Not so much the case. I think frame concerns are completely valid with DEVONTA Smith, but I think because he's not a burner, I think short area quickness is definitely a strength of this game. So when if he catches something that's intermediate, he catches a lot of deep passes, but when he gets stuff that's intermediate, he makes a lot of guys miss in open space, which I think not enough people talk. Like, I was looking at a couple of the scouting resource sites, and I didn't really see a lot of people bring up the yards after the catchability, at least consistency enough that it is a constant positive for Smith, and I think that needs to be brought to light. But yeah, size concerns, 175 pounds, and he's not like an elite athlete. That would be kind of the red flag there, but still I think he's 2nd, 3rd round wide receiver right now. Going to wide receiver number 6, we have T. Higgins, 6'4", 205 pounds from Clemson. He's A-plus jump ball, red zone. He's every bit of a 6'4" wide receiver. Separation at the next level is going to be a concern. We're not even going to... He literally has the exact same scouting report I have for Mike Williams, who was a 1st-round pick to the Chargers, who actually has... I remember they were running him on sweeps and stuff like that fairly effectively last year. Remember he had a crazy sweep to beat the Chiefs, was it? But either way, T. Higgins, almost the exact same scouting report as Mike Williams. Hasn't been as productive as Mike Williams was with Deshaun Watson there at Clemson. But in terms of style wide receiver, it's usually a kind of a cop-out to compare a wide receiver to one that was at the exact same school fairly recently. But there's your comparison. There's your positives and negatives is Mike Williams. So I think Mike Williams this year in real life was probably hoping to have a breakout season for the Chargers, but the Chargers just across the board have been very disappointing. But for T. Higgins, I think you're going to get, a day 2 big jump ball wide receiver. You need to get better in the red zone. You need to get better on the outside. T. Higgins is your guy. Going to wide receiver number 5, we have LAVISKA Shenaults Jr., 6'1", 215 pounds, out of Colorado. Very, very strong hands, can get up in the air, make contested catches, but without a shadow of a doubt, his biggest strength is yards after the catch. He looks like a running back. He's like a Jack Cordero Patterson. Literally, actually, his best comparison, I think, is he's a bigger Golden Tate. I think like a team like Kansas City would be a perfect match made. I mean, they don't need a wide receiver, right? They paid Tyreek. You got Sammy Watkins on a ridiculous deal, but a guy like Shenault is like for an Andy Reid scheme. He is an unbelievable player, but The negative, and a lot of scouts brought this up, is his lack of technical ability. Because he's played everything on the offensive side of the ball, they'll have him do some run. Like, he's Cordero Patterson, essentially. That's how Colorado wants to use him. Obviously, being a little bit more of a receiver, but generally speaking, if you had to make a layman term comparison, they use him like Cordero Patterson, all over the place. And because of that, he's not like he's not just a guy that you can only imagine during practice. He's doing everything. And when you do everything, you're the jack of all trades, master of none. And you want your wide receivers to master their route running ability, which could be the negative for him. But I think athletically, from a talent standpoint, he will be able to develop a crisp route running tree. He's just so damn explosive and powerful. I can't imagine it not to. So if you're a wide receiver coach, OC, worth your weight in salt, you're going to be able to develop Shenaults into a talent. I think he definitely could sneak into the first round, depending on how he tests at the combine. Going to wide receiver number 4, I have Tylan Wallace, 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, out of Oklahoma State. He's a tremendous athlete, excellent hands. I think he's a day one contributor in the NFL. Really the only, every time I watch him play, I'm like, this guy's good. Everything about this guy screams, at worst, a wide receiver 2 at the next level. But the negative is the scheme at Oklahoma State. I mean, it's kind of gimmicky. The Gundy scheme, it's not really air raid, especially this year because they're running the ball a lot with Chuba Hubbard. But it's not an intricate route tree. We don't really see a lot of different routes from Tylan Wallace. So he's one of those guys that I think will make a lot of money at the combine when just even doing those on-field drills. And I don't think actually he's not a senior, can't go to the Senior Bowl. But just at that combine, like Kenny Galladay a couple years ago. I remember Kenny Galladay. No one was talking about him. I wasn't talking about him. But then I watched him at the combine do those on-field drills. Like, my God, this guy's just standing above the rest. Now we look at Kenny Galladay, legit wide receiver 1. I think a guy like Tylan Wallace in that space, given what I've seen in college, once I see him out there with all the other wide receivers running the routes, breaking away from that stigma of Oklahoma State wide receivers, I think he can make a lot of money. And I think he is going to be more so a second-round type wide receiver. Now we're going to the big 3. All these guys are locks to go in the first round. At number 3, I have Henry Ruggs III, 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, out of Alabama. Elite speed. I think, one of maybe the fastest player in college football. A lot of scouts, the Draft Network, I think, was quoted saying 4.2, like legit 4.26, I think is what he ran at like the mock combine they did at Alabama. Great ball tracking, has solid hands. I guess really the only negative is, can he handle an NFL route tree? More so because he is kind of lightly framed. When you get him to start running things more across the middle, things are going to require contact. Is he going to be able to hold up against it? Because unlike Tyreek Hill, like we talked about Jalen REAGOR, Henry Ruggs is not jacked like Tyreek Hill. He's not built like Tyreek Hill. Not a thick boy like Tyreek Hill. So there's always going to be kind of those frame concerns. But generally speaking, with how the NFL is going, how speed is pretty much above all right now in the National Football League, Henry Ruggs, top 25 talent, somewhere in that range. It's going to be a wide receiver 1 and going to be goddamn dynamic at Philadelphia. You listening? Go to wide receiver 2. We have CeeDee Lamb, 6'3", 190 pounds, out of Oklahoma. He has bailout ability, maybe more so than I've seen since Mike Evans was bailing out Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. Pretty much anything he throws away, bad throw, great throw, he's coming down with it. Great contested ball ability. Wow, catch ability, make one-handed grabs, especially in the red zone. Will moss guys left, right, and center. I mean, I love him. And a lot of scouts, the only real negative against him is his top-end speed. I never really thought speed was a concern. Maybe he's not as fast as I made him in my Madden draft classes. I think I gave him 93 speed. Maybe you can knock that down more so to like 91, 90, somewhere in that territory. But I personally, on tape, I don't really see that. That's maybe where we disagree. But enough people would constantly bring up his speed that I had to mention it in this video because I'm not going to be completely biased to what I see. Like when I look at all these other draft sites, it's almost 9 times out of 10 confirmation bias. I have A, B, and C about a receiver. I'm going to go look at like 2 or 3 different sites that I really trust. And those what I think, what I see line up with what they see. And if I see overwhelmingly discrepant scouting notes, I will always take note. And for this one, a lot of people were doubting his speed. And then finishing up at wide receiver 1, you should have noticed by clicking the video, it's Jeudy, 6'1", 190 pounds, out of Alabama. Complete wide receiver prospect, from route running to catching to catch radius to athletic traits. He has it all in spades. I do not have a single negative about Jeudy. I'm not going to nitpick him to the point where I just like, oh, he's probably eating habits suck, or like, stuff like this. Some of the scouts were bringing up his catch radius. Yeah, no. He's a top 5 player in this draft. I don't know if he'll go top 5. I don't know if there's a priority on wide receivers to go that high, but maybe he can. I'm looking at like the great Alabama wide receivers. I think you still have to put Julio at 1, but considering the hype and all that stuff, I think Jerry Jeudy's ahead of Amari Cooper. I think if you're looking at the last big Alabama wide receivers, you have Julio at 1, Jerry Jeudy at 2, Amari Cooper at 3. That's kind of where I'd rank him. And I mean, if you ask Dallas Cowboy fans, Amari Cooper's the best wide receiver in the league. So I think you're going to get something that is really, really good here in Jerry Jeudy. You can't miss on him. He is going to be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL for a very long time. So there you go, guys. Those are my wide receiver rankings 1.0 halfway through the college football season. If you agree or disagree with any of the rankings you saw here today, let me know. Did I sleep on a prospect? Did I not even talk about, Tyler Johnson from Minnesota, Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State? There's, some of these guys like this. Let me know in the comment section below. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.